Joe Biden's pick to lead the FAA, his name is Michael Washington. He don't know what the hell he's doing. Yeah, and the ATC, they hire people with disabilities. Watch this right here.
So, Mr. Washington, can you quickly tell me what airspace requires an ADS-B transponder?
Not sure I can answer that question right now.
That's okay. We'll just keep going. So that's a pretty important part. So what are the 6 types of special use airspace that protect this national security that appear on FAA charts?
Sorry, Senator, I cannot answer that question.
Okay, so what are the operational limitations of a pilot flying under basic med?
Senator, I'm not a pilot, so...
but obviously you'd oversee the federal...
See, this is what people don't understand when we speak of how DEI puts the country at a disadvantage. He's supposed to be the head of the FAA, and he can't answer what would probably be simple questions to somebody who is supposed to know this stuff. That's dangerous itself. And I understand he's a black man, but nobody, I don't care if you black, white, green, purple, should be in those type of positions if you don't know what you're doing.
Federal Aviation Administration. So any idea what those restrictions are under basic med, quickly?
Well, some of the restrictions I think would be high blood pressure. Some of them would be...
No. It's more like how many passengers per airplane, how many pounds in different categories, and what altitude you can fly under. So, and then amount of knots. It's under 250 knots. So it's not having anything to do with blood pressure. So can you tell me what causes an aircraft to spin or to stall?
Again, Senator, I'm not a pilot.
Okay, let's keep going.
And you're in charge.
What are the 3 aircraft certifications the FAA requires as part of the manufacturing process? Quickly, please. 3 aircraft certifications.
Come on, bro.
Again, what I would say to that is that one of my first priorities would be to fully implement that Certification Act and report.
You know the 3 types, Mr. Washington? The 3 types? Okay.
No.
Yeah, that's type certificate, production certificate, airworthiness certificate. Okay. All right. Let's just keep going, see if we can get lucky here.
Biden's a retard.
Can you tell me what the minimum separation distance is for landing and departing airliners during the daytime, Mr. Washington?
I don't want to guess on that, Senator.
Are you familiar with the difference between Part 107 and Part 44809 when it comes to unmanned aerial standards? Unmanned like drones. Are you familiar with the difference?
Yes.
Okay. You know the difference between those 2, Part
Share me
44809 and Part 107? Do you know the difference there?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
And the thing of it is that if he knew some of the stuff, they probably would have gave him a pass. But to know none of it.
I'm glad you asked me to say this. I'm glad you asked for a video on this because I was just about to create one actually. Yes, Trump is in his 3rd term right now, but it gets better. My guy's talking about a 3rd or 4th term.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times.
Like I've said many times before, I'm gonna say it one more time. Trump is the last president that we ever gonna have. We're not gonna have another president after Trump. It's not some, oh, he's the Antichrist. No, you guys are getting it wrong. Between 1871 to 1913, we had tariffs. There was no need for us to pay taxes. He's restoring us back to that point. That's why he's creating the ERS, the External Revenue Service, to where other countries are gonna have to pay us, not citizens of this country paying taxes.
The tariff system made so much money. It was when we were the richest from 1870 to 1913. Then we brilliantly came in with an income tax. No, we don't want others to pay. Let's have our people pay. And then you had the Depression in 1928, 1929.
This man is a genius. But more importantly, he's restoring the republic back to what it was pre-1871. When he says the best is yet to come, it's not cliche, man. It's happening. The golden age is happening. Stay tuned.
Hey, it ain't too far-fetched. I mean, if you don't know, President Roosevelt was one president who served more than 2 terms. He served 3. So it's possible.
Inflation creates inequality. Don't believe me? Let me show you. Let's take this economy here that's got 4 people. We're going to have $100 worth of assets. We're going to have $100 worth of money, right? These 2 things equal each other. So we'll put that down right here. We'll start at an equal we're going to add up to a $200 net worth. Let's start with this first guy here, okay? He's got $50 in the bank. He does not have any assets. He didn't buy any assets, but he has a net worth of 50 bucks because he's got all his money in cash. So we got this guy here who's got 40 bucks in the bank. He spent $10 and he bought $10 worth of assets, okay? But he's still got a net worth of 50 bucks. 40 plus 10 equals 50. That's his net worth. These guys are pretty equal here, right? We got this guy here. He went a little crazy, bought $40 worth of assets. He's only got $10 left, but he's got a net worth of 50 bucks. And this guy went all in, $50 worth of assets, no cash in the bank, but he's got a $50 net worth. When we add these up, we got $200 worth of net worth, $100 worth of assets, $100 worth of cash. These things are equal. We're good, and everybody's fine. But you know what? A politician comes along. A politician says, hey, we need to stimulate the economy. I think that everybody deserves $25 to help them through. We're going to give everybody 25 bucks. So we're going to print money. Now we have double the money supply, and everybody gets 25 bucks. See, it's equal. It's fair. Every single person gets $25. So what's going to be the result of that? Well, everybody's bank account is going to go up. That's the first thing that'll happen. Right? So everybody's bank account went up by $25 because the government deposited the $25 in there. But this guy doesn't have any assets. He's going to have a $75 net worth. And he's excited about that. He's like, look at that. I just voted myself richer. My net worth just went up just by voting, just by being like, yeah, I want a stimulus. Give it to me. Or by voting for the right person who's going to give you the right things in an economy. But let's look at this next guy here. He's got $10 worth of assets. When he goes to sell those assets, are they going to be worth $10 still? No, there's twice as much money out there. So everybody who has assets just went up by a factor of 2. So this guy's got $100, this guy's got $80, this guy's got $20. This all has to balance out, right? So what are these going to add up to now? Now that we doubled the money supply, this has to add up to 200, this has to add up to 200, and this has to add up to 400. Well, let's see what happens with these people here. This guy's got a little bit, so he ends up with an $85 net worth. And he's starting to catch on. He's like, wait a minute. This guy increased his net worth more than me. But look, it gets worse. This guy's got a $115 net worth. This guy's got a $125 net worth. This guy more than doubled his net worth by voting. This is what I mean. The politicians here know, and their friends know. They understand economics. They know what's important. They bought all the assets. They may not have had a lot of cash, but look how everybody was equal, and now everybody's not.
That's what people don't understand. Your wealth is measured in your assets, not how much money you have in your pocket. Invest. Learn stocks.
It's not equal at all, just by voting. This is a tax on the have-nots. Because if everybody's net worth went up exactly the same, nobody would actually be made any better off. So the ironic thing that's happening here is even though this person feels like he saw his net worth increase, that was just a figment of his imagination, because this is a competitive world that we live in. There are scarce resources. There's a finite amount of resources. And now, in relation to everybody else, he is now officially worse off, where in the beginning, they were all equal. And this was caused by inflation. This is why I get so upset when politicians convince people for free things, when they think they're being handed free things, like free money, free college. It's not free. There's a cost to it. So this is why I'm so upset when these politicians convince people to vote for them or vote for policies like this. It actually creates more inequality. And it's totally unfair because the people who understand economics are benefiting from this. And the public who don't understand economics are being taken advantage of. Inflation creates inequality. Don't believe me? Let me show you. Let's take this economy here that's got 4 people.
And that's how the rich get rich and they stay rich. They use our money and they kind of swindle it some way into their pockets. And then they invest it in the stock markets and they make a capital gain off of it. And yes, that capital gain gets taxed. By the time they've made a capital gain on whatever they invested, outside of what gets taxed Everything else is a profit. So they're not even mad at being taxed. And you wouldn't either, especially if you just allow it to sit and compound. So it's just something to think about, y'all. Something to think about.
Come and buy us, Donald Trump.
Will Donald Trump buy Canada in his second term?
I don't know if he'd buy it, or I don't know how we would do it, but I'm going to tell you, I carry this sign in protest of what my country did and out of respect for Donald Trump. I am the grandmother now of 2 little granddaughters, and if Donald J. Trump were president of my country, at least I wouldn't have to worry about men in their bathrooms. At least I would know that they would have a fair chance if they did decide to go into sports. So, I mean, why would I feel bad about somebody like Donald Trump taking over our country? Come and save us, Donald Trump. We don't even have free speech in Canada anymore. We've got a 54-year-old man in Ontario saying he's a 12-year-old girl and swimming on a 12-year-old girl's swim team. I have a friend right now, they spent 3 days in court prosecuting her because she went to protest at a drag queen show being performed at a church for children. Come and buy us, Trump, because I don't want that kind of life. If I got a choice between that and the United States buying Canada, come and buy us.
And this is the part that I was telling y'all that they don't show about the people in Canada who are tired of the semi-dictatorship country that they have. Everything ain't just smoke and mirrors, and you got to pay attention.
The Panama Canal is much more epic than you think, and there's a reason the US wants to take it back. Normally, if you ever wanted to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, you would have to go all the way around South America like this, which can literally take up to 2 months. But the US wanted a shortcut by cutting through the thinnest part of land right through the other side that would save them billions of dollars and months of time. This thinnest part happened to be in Panama, which was part of Colombia at the time, who wanted nothing to do with the US. So Colombia let the French build this shortcut in 1882, who failed miserably due to disease and other factors, and the project went bankrupt. America saw this and determined that Panama needed some good old freedom, so they intervened and helped Panama gain its independence in 1903. In return, Panama gave the US this tiny strip of land that happened to be exactly where the canal was being built. In 1904, America buys the failed Panama Canal project from the French for $40 million and finishes it 10 years later in 1914. But it was kind of worth it. Not only did it cut months of travel time down to about 8 hours, generated billions of dollars in revenue, but also ended up being crucial for military operations in the Navy. So what happened? How did the US lose control of such a critical asset? Well, first you need to realize the Panama Canal sure ain't no hole-in-the-ground tunnel that just connects the two oceans. The engineering that went into this is on par with one of the greatest achievements in all of humanity. So the sea level on the Pacific side is actually about 20 centimeters higher than on the Atlantic side for various complex scientific reasons. Not to mention the water level of lakes and rivers on land is much higher than the oceans too. In order to get ships across, the Panama Canal uses a series of locks and water chambers that slowly fill up and bring the passing ship up to the water level of the artificial lake on land. It passes through the man-made lake and does the same thing in reverse on the other side to bring it back down to the other ocean. Boom boom bop, easy does it, right? Well, not so much, because in 1977, the Torrijos-Carter treaties promised Panama would regain full control of the canal by the end of 1999, which it did. So Panama now owns full control of the canal, which generates billions and billions of dollars a year in revenue. And you know who loves billions and billions of dollars? This guy right here, who realized what a grave mistake it was to give it up and now kinda wants it back.
And fortunately, he just got it back. You'll see later on in this video.
Oh shit, a plane just ran.
What is it, a plane? Plane just crashed on Cotman Avenue, yo. I was right there.
Airplane crash.
They house on fire.
I, for one, I honestly believe that the plane was actually a missile disguised as a plane. That's just me.
Trump has not put down that pen since he took office. He's signing executive order after executive order. He's using his right hand more than a teenage boy at night. It's like Quagmire in that one episode. What did he sign this time? I signed an executive order establishing a sovereign wealth fund. What that means is that the US government is now going to run like a business. They're going to make investments and have to worry about being profitable instead of just taxing us to death. Then that money is going to be used to build new highways, new airports. Why am I speaking? Just hear it from Trump himself.
We will build extraordinary national development projects and everything from highways to airports and to transportation infrastructure, all of the future. We'll be able to invest in state-of-the-art manufacturing hubs, advanced defense capabilities, cutting-edge medical research, and help save billions of dollars in preventing disease in the first place. This wealth fund will return a gigantic profit, which will help pay down national debt. We're going to work on national debt very strongly, by the way. We're going to have so much money coming in. We're going to work on national debt.
This is exactly
what president you know lately or ever has spoke about getting rid of the national debt. Y'all know this country is in $1 trillion worth of debt, probably over that. Nobody has spoke about fixing it. Nobody but him.
Exactly what President Trump meant when he said we're entering into a new golden era. The government is going to be run like a business. We are going to use tariffs to fund the government. Companies are going to come into the United States and create jobs instead of just exporting all our industries. We're going to be healthier because RFK Jr. is there. The sanctimonious bureaucratic class in D.C. is getting toppled because Elon Musk is cutting all their funding. We're going to finally exploit the natural resources that God gave us. We have the Gulf of America, Mount McKinley. Everything's just good, man.
And that's why Elon Musk says there will be a universal high income. Nobody is going to make under $30 an hour. And that could start as soon as Trump gets rid of the IRS. Not get rid of the IRS as a whole, but get rid of what the IRS was used for. Hope that makes sense. But yeah, and give the rest of the issues to the ERS. He's already separated the Department of Treasury from the central banks and the Federal Reserve, which means that the Federal Reserve no longer has the power to control the money that comes in this country. Looking real up, y'all, real up.
Of the FBI. Who does the director of the FBI work for, Mr. Patel?
Senator, thank you for that question. The immediate report for the director of the FBI is into the Office of the Deputy Attorney General. Then that report is taken into the Office of the Attorney General and ultimately the White House and the chain of command there.
So the FBI works for the White House?
No, the FBI is a member of the Department of Justice and has been the long-standing application.
And who does the Department of Justice work for?
They're in the executive branch, as all members do at the White House.
Attorney General Bondi gave a different answer when I asked her the same question, that they work for the Constitution and the American people. President Trump's made clear in public statements he wants to use the FBI to persecute political adversaries. He's publicly said that folks ranging from Liz Cheney to Adam Kinzinger to former Vice President Harris should be investigated and criminally prosecuted. If President Trump were to order you to open an investigation into any of these individuals, let's say Vice President Harris, would you?
Senator, this question speaks directly to my ability to leave political bias and allow independent behavior to be the only guiding light. As a public defender, I learned that in the harshest of arenas. And any law enforcement investigation, if I'm confirmed at the FBI, will only be launched on the following qualification: a factual, articulable, legal basis to do so. The president has said publicly that he will allow the FBI to remain independent, and I have said as much as well.
So if FBI agents brought to you a factual, legal basis, predication, and you are about to refer it to a prosecutor, and you get a call from the White House saying, don't proceed. This is a major donor. This is someone close to the president. This is inappropriate.
He's basically sitting there and he's asking the same question. Yeah. Are you going to put me in prison?
Are you going to lock us up?
Will I be safe?
If I vote you...
Can you please confirm? That's what he's sitting there doing.
Can you confirm if we vote you as head of the FBI, you will not come lock us up?
That's exactly what's going on right here. I might... Oh, man. Let's keep going, guys. Let's listen to this.
What would you do?
Simple. I think you answered it partially in your question. The line agents, the brick agents who are trained to bring investigations on behalf of the FBI will make that decision-making process, and they will only have my full support so long as it upholds absolutely every value of the Constitution, and that's it.
So your predecessor, I went back and looked, and I asked the same questions of Director Comey and Director Wray. Director Wray, quoting former Attorney General Bell, said, "You should be willing to resign if necessary over conduct if you're pressed to engage in it that's unethical, illegal, or unconstitutional. If pressed by the president, would you resign?"
Senator, my answer is simply, I would never do anything unconstitutional or unlawful, and I never have.
While Trump out here talking about ending FEMA, the camera panned to Melania.
We'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good.
Look closer. What do you see?
Whether it's a Democrat or Republican.
Doesn't Melania remind you of a certain anti-hero? Exactly. You think it's a coincidence? You think it was a coincidence how she dressed for the inauguration? And it was a coincidence how she dressed for the inaugural ball too, huh? Keep your eyes open, fam. There's a lot more than meets the eye. Real talk.
Do you think he's changed since July when he got shot?
He believes that God spared him to run this country for the next 4 years. And I think that had a lot to do with his mentality coming out of that assassination attempt.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet in a certain way I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that.
I went to Mar-a-Lago to be with him election night. He hadn't slept in like 72 hours. Then he wins the election. I jump on a plane. The guy's calling me the guy doesn't sleep. He just keeps going and going and going. I left election night. I jumped on the plane at 4 in the morning. He was still up when I left at 4 in the morning. And I literally don't know if the guy slept since then. It's unbelievable.
All of that is totally real and on a diet that you would not recommend to any person.
Never seen him drink water. I've been with him a lot since the election. Still haven't seen him drink water.
And he's doing the opposite of everything you'd recommend, but running the world. Do you have any guesses as to how that happens?
He's unlike any human that I've ever met. I say it all the time. I've never seen anybody that operates the way that this man does.
When it's time for a change, and the time is now, the Most High will provide you with unseen powers ever witnessed in this world. So yes, he may not have the greatest diet, and he's still not sleeping, and he just keeps going. That's because he has a power behind him that's unheard of. So it's very possible.
Someone want to tell me why there's a P-8 flying around in the Gulf of America at the Texas and Mexico line? Yeah, here you go, P-8 at the line, and now you got it circling around out here. Also, did you hear about how the man in charge just dropped some strikes on IS squared? You know what I'm talking about. And did you hear about how there's some blue sides that are really upset over the DOGE, you know, that guy who's in charge of it? And they're saying that they're going to stop all of the nominees of agreeing to it. Yeah, give that a shot. Let me know how that works out. Hey, and one last question. How many countries tax their citizens and then give money to America? Did anybody in the train incident, y'all see any money from another country? No, you didn't. What about y'all in the hurricane in the Carolina Mountains and Tennessee Mountains? Y'all see anything? No, you didn't? Take care. God bless.
But all members of the committee are present. I move that the committee favorably report the nomination of the Honorable Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. of California to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. Is there a second? Second. There is a second. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Grassley. Aye. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Cornyn. Aye. Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. Thune. Aye. Mr. Thune, aye. Mr. Scott. Aye. Mr. Scott, aye. Mr. Cassidy. Aye. Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mr. Langford. Mr. Langford, aye. Mr. Daines. Mr. Daines, aye. Mr. Young. Mr. Young, aye. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. Tillis. Mr. Tillis, aye. Mrs. Blackburn. Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Mr. Marshall. Mr. Marshall, aye. Mr. Wyden.
No.
Mr. Wyden, no. Ms. Cantwell. No. Ms. Cantwell, no. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner, no. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse, no. Ms. Hassan. Ms. Hassan, no. Ms. Cortez Masto. Ms. Cortez Masto, no. Ms. Warren. No. Ms. Warren, no. Mr. Sanders. No. Mr. Sanders, no. Ms. Smith. No. Ms. Smith, no. Mr. Lujan. No. Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Warnock.
No.
Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Welch. No. Mr. Welch, no. Mr. Chairman. Chairman votes aye.
And that was the tiebreaker. They tried their hardest to keep RFK out of that seat, but he got it. And he earned it. And I would say he's overqualified for that position, actually. And if you go look up the qualifications for that position, I could do it. Especially if I didn't have to go and be nominated like he did. I would definitely put in for that position.
Mr. Chairman, the final tally is 14 ayes, 13 nays.
The vote was, would the clerk please restate the vote?
Mr. Chairman, the final tally was 14 ayes, 13 nays.
The vote was 14-13. The nomination is reported favorably.
Well, looky. Project 2025 is continuing to move forward.
I don't know why people keep calling it Project 2025, because it has some of the same ideas as Agenda 47. It's like they forgot about Agenda 47.
Very smoothly, might I add. Trump signed the executive order that individuals who are on public housing got 2 years effective 2026. You have to figure your life out because public housing isn't something you're supposed to be on all your life. It's only to get you on your feet. So for all the ones who grew up in public housing and then they got their mom, inherited their mama project. Their mom inherited their grandma project, and then their grandma inherited her mama project, your great grandma project. Baby, it's done. You can no longer pass down your project to nobody else. Your housing, voucher, your Section 8, none of that. You cannot pass it down to other people no more. Okay? The buck stops here. You got 2 years. And I suggest you use those 2 years wisely because you don't listen. All right? You don't listen. When we say get out there and vote, you say, I'm not voting because my vote don't matter. And I'm not worrying about this and I could care less. All right? Because you was comfortable. Now he's kicking you out your comfort zone. You no longer could argue over something that you don't own. So at this point, you have 2 years. And like I said, use them wisely, my baby. Because evictions will start. It's effective 2026. Don't say you haven't been warned, baby. Because I clap on this page all day. All day. Since the beginning, Project 2025 was told that this was all happening. That was like some of my main things to say. But all right, the order signed. You have been warned. And guess what? Do your big one. You got this. You got this. You got this. It's scary, but you'll be okay. You got this, baby. Rise up.
I think it's for the greater good. It's going to make people realize that earning your keep is better than getting something for free. Because when you get something for free from somebody, they always have something hanging over your head.
Senator Cotton, the central location. The Intelligence Committee just voted to report Tulsi Gabbard's nomination to be the Director of National Intelligence favorably to the full United States Senate. We look forward to her confirmation and working with her to keep
How soon will this be on the floor, Senator?
There you go. There's another one. Tulsi Gabbard. He's been voted in, too. We moving right along, folks. Moving right along.
Let me try to put all this in context for you. I like omelets. I mean, I really like omelets. I could eat an omelet at every meal. I like omelets better than sex. Not really, but you get the point. I like omelets. You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. Now, President Trump ran for office saying, I'm going to review every single penny in the federal budget. Now, how are you going to review the spending in the federal budget without reviewing the spending? And that's what Mr. Musk is doing. Now, many of my Democratic colleagues and some of the tofu-eating wokerati at the USAID are screaming like they're part of a prison riot because they don't want us reviewing the spending. But that's all Mr. Musk is doing, and he's finding some pretty interesting stuff. To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow.
I like Senator John Kennedy, man. He's straight to the point. And he's funny, too.
Did Southeast Missouri, did something slip everybody's minds? Because I know y'all aren't sitting over here with your own cannibals and nobody told me.
Oh, we haven't forgotten. We just don't want to talk about it. There are certain things in Southeast Missouri that you don't talk about. And this area right here, that area, we don't talk about that at all. And this is coming from somebody with a big freaking loudmouth that likes to talk about the weird, the supernatural, and the unexplained. You would have thought if there was something like what you just said in that area that I probably would have talked about it, right? You would have thought that. But if you live in this area, you don't talk about that shit. Let me just paint you a little picture. You're driving down Highway 21 and you decide to make a little turn, make a little right turn onto a back road. Now, just like anything else, a multitude of things can happen on that back road. You could drive down a little bit, realize that you've made a wrong turn, and turn around and leave. And if that's the case, you've picked the right back road. Because the alternative is, you might drive down that back road, find that there's nowhere to turn around, and you just keeps going and going. And then you realize you're way too far in here and you have no idea where you're at or where this road comes out. You don't realize that this road does not come out anywhere else. What comes out is a person, and that person may walk up to your car window and he may say something like, the only kind of people that drive down this road are people that know me or people that are lost. And lady, I have no idea who you are. He might sound like a hillbilly when he says it though. And more than likely, he'll let you turn around. He'll say, hey, drive down past that Jeep, turn around. And you'll say, what Jeep? And he'll point to the big pile of weeds, and that's the weeds that are grown up through the Jeep. So you drive past the weeds Jeep and you turn around and then you start back down the road. That guy might give you a little wave and send you on down the road and you think everything is fine. That was just a weird interaction. But as you're thinking about that little weird encounter, you start seeing people on the side of the road, people that you passed on the way in that you had no idea were there. They might be waving too. So the moral of this story is if you're in this area right here, do not get off of Highway 21. Do not turn down a back road. Do not trust GPS. Don't stop and ask us about this area right here because we're not going to tell you about that area right there. So if you're from Southeast Missouri, there's a list of things that you just don't want to talk about. And Monkey Mountain is pretty darn high on that list. Damn it, man.
Man, that boy Trump talking crazy now. He talking about sending United States criminals to foreign countries to do their prison time. Man, somebody look at this.
They are very violent people. We also have many violent criminals in our country, however, that did not necessarily come here illegally, but have been arrested 30 times, 35 times, 41, 42 times in a couple of cases, 25 times, 18 times, many for murder and other heinous charges such as pushing people into subways. As the train's coming along at 45 miles an hour, boom, you get pushed into the subway. They had it last week. Hitting them in the head with baseball bats while they're not looking, punching old ladies in the face, knocking them unconscious and stealing their purse. They even break into apartments and rape elderly women and beat up elderly men, beat them to hell. And I don't want these violent repeat offenders in our country any more than I want illegal aliens from other countries who misbehave. And I say, and this is subject to getting it approved, but if they've been arrested many, many times, they're repeat offenders by many numbers, I want them out of our country. I also will be seeking permission to do so. We're going to get approval, hopefully, to get them the hell out of our country along with others. Let them be brought to a foreign land and maintained by others for a very small fee as opposed to be maintained in our jails for massive amounts of money, including the private prison companies that charge us a fortune. No, let them be brought out of our country and let them live there for a while. Let's see how they like it.
Now, first off, I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't see none of this stuff he talking about taking effect anytime soon because it's way too much money in the private prison system. But listen, if it ever does come down to this, some of y'all dudes better get it together right now before y'all end up serving time in Somalia.
And they better get it together quick, because who want to go spend a sentence in a third world country where your family can't come visit you, you don't know nobody? That's a whole nother adaptation that you're going to have to do. No, sir. I'll stay away from the crime. I'm good. But do your thing, Trump.
Before that, to be honest, in my mind I thought, like, what if the rocket would
The rocket!
Ukraine, right? And there's war. There's always rockets coming in and stuff like that. And then I see things flying. Like, no way, the war started again? You know, and you say it, you never know.
How did it sound? Describe what it sounded like to you.
I didn't hear the sound, but I saw that big light and I saw the explosion. The explosion. I was just like,
He's for real. He's for it. He's saying.
Were you scared? Did you come running closer to see what was going on?
I stopped. I was just looking around and I see the smoke. You can see on my phone, and then I just took my phone and started
Can you show us?
Yeah.
Can you show us what you What's your first name, sir?
But do you?
Can you spell that for me?
V-A-G-I-N?
They got it.
That's crazy. He said a rocket, and I said that I think it was a missile disguised as a plane.
If these tariffs come in and they look like they're going to stay, we pretty well have two options. We'll either sell to a U.S. company, and there's lots of interest, or we'll look at moving the business to the U.S. I'm Darren Smith, president of Justin Tool Company here in Moncton, New Brunswick. We manufacture woodworking tools and accessories. We export over 90% of what we produce. We always do over 80% of our business in the United States. If this tariff comes in, it's not going to raise the price to the American consumer. We have great competition in the U.S., manufactured in the U.S., and they make a high-quality product. Our customers, I can't blame them. They would just purchase product made in the U.S. I've always been grateful to be able to sell in the U.S. market. And I love Americans. I love America. I consider us best friends. I don't like the way my government has been insulting the current president for the past 9 years and his supporters. It insults me too because I like him. I like Donald Trump. The United States and the different states and communities, they look at business a little bit differently. They actively pursue business. They appreciate business. Canada, it seems like you're a necessary evil here. The reason I decided to speak out is I've got 65 employees and they have families, and I hate to see them lose their job. I think my government should be trying a little bit harder to work with them and not playing politics all the time.
He has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails. He has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals in custody in our country, including those of U.S. citizenship and legal residence.
You guys believe that the U.S. military will lose to the cartel. Have y'all lost your minds? I can't believe y'all got this video recirculating again just because of the tariffs. Listen to me closely. 12 hours, morals off the table, and the orange man pressing the button. We would win. He just pressed the button 4 days ago. Look it up. Y'all arguments are we lost to Vietnam, we lost to the Middle East, the cartel would do us dirty. One, you guys clearly don't know what you're talking about. Please go do some research.
First, y'all got to understand, these are kids who talking. Kids, they don't know. They don't know. They just go off what they see. And everybody in the world thinks that the cartel is the baddest on the planet. But they're only bad to the people in their country. They wouldn't be that bad to people who can protect themselves. The cartels are nobody. But I digress.
Research. 2, the cartel doesn't even have a quarter of what they had. All they have is normal men with automatic weaponry. Our Air Force, given the location and good reconnaissance, would have that handled in 12 hours. Your average little kid that plays Black Ops or Modern Warfare would tell you that this is misinformation. You can dislike the president and criticize him. No one can stop you from that. 100%. You can do that. But when you let your dislike mess with your common sense is when we have a problem. You guys are genuinely losing your minds right now, bro. I could tell the next 3 years is finna be crazy.
And it's crazy because it's young kids that's saying this stuff and they have no idea the weaponry that the United States has. Like, for instance, the AC-130, you know, they call it the Angel of Death. They don't call it that for nothing. Let's just say they use that hypothetically, which they probably wouldn't have to because ground soldiers could clear that out in maybe 12 hours. But that run through there, 2.5 seconds, if that, done. But what? I'm going to say this and I'm going to leave it here. Y'all already see Trump doing his thing, and he's undoing a lot and doing new things. And see, that's the thing. Like, we have been stuck in this old way of America, and what people don't realize is that this country needs change. It's outdated. The ways that they were doing things is outdated, and that's why we were being taken advantage of, because we were so stuck in our ways that we allowed other countries to surpass us when we were initially the greatest country on the planet, and we were supposed to keep that spot at all times. Even the dollar started to lose its rightful place, but it's getting that back real quick. So I'm just saying, man, for all of the people that saying, oh, Trump is destroying the country, no. Trump is bringing change to the country, and sometimes change can be uncomfortable, but you have to, in every aspect of life, make room for change. And this is one of those changes that I feel is going to be good and beneficial for the country, in turn being good for the citizens of this country. So me, being the optimistic person I am, I would say there's nothing to worry about. Yes, just like Trump said, there may be a little disruption, but not for long. Because as you can see, all of these other countries are falling in line. Canada ain't going to be too much more longer. Trust when I say it. Because them trying to fight this economy and trying to fight the U.S. with us being a bigger country is making their country suffer. And they're not going to last that long. Trust. So you just got to have a bit of hope and a bit of positivity in your mind to understand what's happening is actually for the greater good.